I'm Nathan Giffen from Vertical Artisans, and welcome to the wonderful world of foam core construction. David, I want to ask you a few questions. You came to the class here in Temple, Georgia, and I'm really intrigued by how you got here from my own marketing perspectives.
Right.
You're in the overlay industry in the Florida area. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your company and what you do? Because I'm interested in how you got here taking a foam core construction course.
Right. Well, in our part of Florida, namely the Villages, everything's real cookie cutter. And you can have whatever kind of broom finish concrete you want, as long as it's broom finish.
As long as it's broom finish?
That's correct. So when people want to personalize their homes, they move into these developments, they'd like to put down something. Tends to be paint, because paint's cheap, and we're the only people that have invested in the right grinding equipment. And really, if you've got broom finish concrete or painted concrete, you want to go to something really nice, your best option is to get an overlay. And so we do about 250,000 square feet a year in the Villages area of just that. About half of it's grind offs, the other half is virgin concrete. And so we've been trying to diversify in order to sort of break out of the bubble, to offer some higher value bids. Our average job size about $4,000. It's not a very large
Per job.
Per job, yeah, it's not a very large bid. So we're just doing so many jobs.
Are you on the high side, the low side? Are you right there in the middle as far as your competitors?
I think we're about in the middle. There's people cheaper than us, that aren't very recommendable. There's a couple that are higher that we'd be happy to send people phone numbers that they're a little bit more artistic, spend more time on the job, may be a good fit for a customer, may not be. We try to keep the price as low as we can for the customer. So I'd say we're, in terms of a good job, we're probably on the low side. Overall, we're probably in the middle.
Sure. So what attracts you to my world? Vertical decorative concrete, foam core construction, vertical carving. You're talking about an overlay, pools, decks, patios. I can see the natural synergy. There's seat walls involved. There's artificial rock. There's maybe some water features because you're in a pool environment occasionally. Right. You've taken the class. We're in the 4th day of the class. You've seen this thing from start to finish. What's going on in your head now? What are you seeing? Is it worth it? Do you see an opening for it?
Absolutely. There's folks out there that market themselves real well on social media, and you can count on them every year at World of Concrete. And we've spent $50,000 on one of those systems, and if I compare the $50,000 that I spent on that and the $3,000 for the two of us here, there's just no comparison. The value here is off the charts. The system costs less to install. It's faster, and I think the look is a lot better than what we're currently doing.
Let's talk about the. Let's get back to the synergy. You're in the backyard. You're on the patio. What percentage of your contracts of your annual sales, has a patio, has an opportunity for hardscapes?
Well, that's just it. I mean, we're booked out and bogged down. We would like to do more patios, but we're tripping over driveways to find the time to get to the patio. I would say that if you look at every job we do, every job has a patio. We're there for a garage, if we're there for a driveway, or if there's a patio that's big enough, that we have the time to get to that. They all are going conversion opportunities. We have 2,000 happy customers, and it's no telling how many of those would translate into some kind of vertical work. There's also in our market, we know for a fact, there's 80,000 homes, and landscaping's huge there. So we're looking at the wall system here for curving around the planters and around the garden areas. So yeah, I would see lots of opportunities.
Let's talk about the customizable options here with the foam core class. I geek out all the time because a lot of times I'll get thrown a set of variables, and it's all got to be custom. I mean, everything we've done this week is around. We had to go around a light pole. We had a flat plate that we had to incorporate with it. There's things that we had to hide, power, utilities, all kinds of goofy things. The foam core just, we were able to address all those particular issues in minutes.
Yep.
And deal with it, and then somehow weave the organic feel right into all of it.
Right.
Were you impressed with the speed at which those things were able to be executed?
Yeah, what I like about the foam core system is that there's none of this a week or two in the shop making panels to build up to the 2 or 3 days we're going to be on site at our customer's home. Here we can do it all right there. We have previously been doing a system that's panel based and solid concrete based, and the panels take a lot of time in the shop. Sometimes it's a week or two that we are preparing for a job, just building panels, and it goes together very quickly on site, but we've spent weeks in the shop. And then if you do a job a week
in the shop.
Yeah. I mean, if you need 50 or 60 panels,
okay,
and depending on how many molds you buy, molds get expensive.
Okay.
If you're going to turn over a mold, let's say 3 or 4 times a day, if you need 50 or 60 panels, and you can turn over a mold only several times a day, you need quite a bit of molds in order to generate 50 or 60 panels per project.
Okay.
Those 50 or 60 panels will go together very quickly on site, but it can add up to days and days and weeks
prep work
of just one guy, and then you have to think about what it costs to have that extra employee in the shop for a week or two building panels for each job. Then you have to think about the real estate cost of what that part of your shop cost you, to tie up constantly just making panels. And
so you're like a manufacturing plant. You're just
it requires that. It requires basically dedicates that. If you're going to do a job a week, let's say just one job a week, and that was only going to take say 30 panels, you would have one person almost full time making panels, and you would need a dedicated bay in your shop just for the panel making. So you have to factor in the labor of that person. You have to factor in the space. What could you be better using that for? Might that be a place where you could buy a bulk deal and save money on some other kind of material? If you could just fill up that bay with bulk materials. Could you produce something else there? Is that the place you really need to pull the shop or pull the truck in and keep it out of a storm or something? Who knows? The ground is valuable. That space is valuable. The other thing was the solid concrete. In a small project, you may or may not notice a couple extra yards of mud at $1.50 a yard. That's $300. Maybe you're not going to make or break the bank on that, but as you start building bigger and bigger projects, by the time you factor in just the sheer logistical headache of moving 6 yards of mud into somebody's backyard, you need a pumper, because you can't wheelbarrow 6 yards, and once you wheelbarrow it in there, then turn around and work it, unless you've got 6 or 8 guys running wheelbarrows, which costs more than a pumper. So you're going to have to pump it. Minimum pump fee is $250 or $300. Okay, so you got to factor in that. You got to factor in the short load fee. If you're not doing a 6 or 8 or 9 yard truck, you got to factor in your short load fee, you know. And then all of this is to create something that's way over engineered, way overbuilt, and it's a liability. The fact that if, for instance, and this happened one time, we lost one, we had to chip out 6 yards
Oh man.
of this mud. What are we going to do? Now we wheelbarrow back to the curb because it flashed on us. You know, truck shows up. This is another true story. Truck shows up. We got a slump of 3. We need a slump of 1. We have to send it back. We're paying that minimum pump fee anyways. Okay, sure, we're not paying the mud, but now we've got 4 guys standing around who are going to have to get sent home, and we paid them to be there. So everything but the mud still got paid for, and here we are a day behind on schedule.
Yeah.
So yeah, anytime you can get the ready mix truck out of the equation, anytime you can rely less on the pumper to show up on time and do his job, anytime you can remove those variabilities out of the equation, you're better off regardless of what the mud itself costs. But then factor in, maybe you need 15 or 20 yards. Yeah, you're looking at thousands of dollars, thousands and thousands of dollars. So a few billets of foam and shooting it right on site, no waste, batch by batch. That way we're never getting behind.
Stop and start when you want to.
Yeah, and that way nothing ever flashes on us. When you think about the pumpers, you don't have to line up. The ready mix trucks, you don't have to rely on. The price of the mud, the price of the extra space that you either have to rent or purchase in your shop. When you factor all that in, the savings become astronomical. Astronomical. And for that reason, I would say that reason alone, this has been tremendous value.
Right.
But I think this looks quite a bit better. I think the artwork we're doing here, I think the techniques you're bringing to this class, I think that they add quite a bit more still. So, you know, it's a no-brainer for me. I'm faster, I'm cheaper, and I'm better. And ain't that America?
There's quite a few, you know, foam core is not without its critics, obviously.
Sure.
It's new.
I was a critic. I mean, it's foam.
You can break it up with your hand.
We're not in the foam business. We're in the concrete business.
Right, right.
What are we doing with foam?
Right.
You know?
After seeing how the structure coat is applied and coming back to it the next day, and you know the way that the scratch coat is, and the hardness of it, and the durability of it. I mean, is that what convinced you?
No, it's not that. That's great. I am very satisfied with the strength of it. I can feel that. I can see that. But you know what I really like about it is how customizable it can be. You know, my concern was, well, hey, we're using panels that are lifted off of stones. How are we going to get a stone on a foam? You know, but the techniques actually make it look better. It looks more like stone than what we lifted off of a stone and molded. It looks more, because the transitions in the panels don't look like stone.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I've wrestled with over the years. You know, there was a time when I thought maybe I would be more panel orientated, because there's some great guys out there that use panels and they make some, you know, really nice pieces.
Yeah.
But there's always the battle between, you know, the story of the rock, the actual geology of the rock, you know, and how it, you know, a vein or a fracture might carry through. Well, with a panel, there's none of that really.
Well, you could do that with a panel. The thing is that you're always going to be struggling with the additional cost, because if you make, like for instance, that rock over there we have, where you have the split in the rock and you have a 2-level thing, and it goes down. Okay, well, if we were to do that with panels, you know, we would need a panel for each place. Okay, and very quickly you start saying, well, shoot, given all the things we talked about, well, now we need a little panel for this. Okay, well, little panels suck. That's a lot of extra work. You know, we make a panel this big. Well, that's what you could do that with a panel. We could build it this way, we could build it this way, we could build it that way. But if we really wanted to get the effect right, we'd need to build it over, build it down, build it back up, build it over. And
that's a lot of horsing around.
It's a lot of horsing around, for something that we could do way faster this way. Why would we?
Yeah.
So that's the point that I see here, is that it really is faster to get a better look. Basically, the leverage you get out of this system allows you to be able to afford to give the customer a better look.
Nice. Well, I know some of the things that are really advantageous for me is my time is very, well, everybody's time. It's a money thing.
When you have guys on staff.
Yeah. It's a precious, non-renewable commodity, and when you give it, it's gone.
That's right.
And so, for me, there's times where I'll fabricate something in my shop, and I'll spend, 3-4 hours dicing up something to look amazing, and I'll take, a client could even come in and sign off of it right there before 1 ounce of cement is even on it. And as soon as they're fine with it, man, we put it in the schedule and it goes in the ground, and that's it. It's like, it doesn't get any faster than that, especially when you're talking about 100% customizable rock work.
Yeah.
That answers a solution or answers to a problem that they have, and
and that's the value of this industry. There's things that robots can build, and there's things that can be offshore to other countries where labor is cheaper, and if we here are going to continue to grow our careers, mass customization is the answer. And so this allows exactly that. We're able to take what the customer wants right there and build it right there. Nobody in China can build this and send it over.
Yeah.
No robot can build what the customer wants.
Yeah.
These are pretty safe jobs.
Yeah. Well, David, welcome to the world of foam core construction.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And thanks for sharing.
Things that you're longing, the searching.